God is good, and all the time. Church, this weekend, the church in the United States of America is weeping. Shock, anger, disbelief, feeling of helplessness. As again we experience a school shooting. Church, this weekend, I want to talk about, can we have the screen please? Lord, give us the courage to weep. Lord, give us the courage to weep. Can we say that together?
Lord, give us the courage to weep.
First, let me discuss this. There's a lot of questions. Why would a loving God allow such thing to happen in His own sanctuary with His own children? Why now? Why minds so young? Why in His sacred house? 2,000 years ago, there was a man also asking those questions. Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. My God, why have you abandoned me? And there was no answer. For sometimes the questions are holier than the answers. For love, in its very nature, will not take away your pain. Love will always share it. Love will always assume it. Love would always suffer with it. Lord, give us the courage to weep. You know, the great Franciscan mystic Father Richard Rohr, once wrote that tears are your truest self. Your tears are your truest self. You can have any other emotions or actions, and a lot of them may be in the gray area, but when you weep, when you cry, that is your truest self. As I was experiencing this week, the question that I have for myself is this: do I still know how to weep? Do I still know how to cry when I feel hopeless and helpless? When I am angered in pain? You know that 5-year-old, a fifth grader that was being interviewed 3 days ago by a reporter, suddenly he paused. And the reporter said, "What's happening?" And he said, "I am just sad. My friend is dead." Lord, give us the courage to weep. You know, one of the parents that gave his witness the day after was asking us, he said, "Please do not give us your sympathy. Give us your empathy." Sympathy is giving somebody your pity. Empathy is putting yourself in their shoes, feeling their pain, assuming their suffering. Church, what if you were that mother or that father that received a call from the school that there's a shooting? What if you are that emergency personnel, that cop that said, there's a shooting at the school, we need to go? What if you are that kid that heard the pop, 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 and suddenly you are so afraid? What if you are that kid right now that does not want to go back to school because of trauma? What if you're that grandparent? Church, let's put ourselves in their shoes. Do we still have the courage to weep? To weep for the suffering around us. To weep for those 13,000 children that have died in Gaza. To weep for the division, the anxiety, the anger that surrounds us. No wonder the call of the first reading in the gospel is humility. For there is no greater humility when we weep. Especially when we weep as a community, when we weep as a country, when we weep as a church. Because only when we start weeping can we start to pray and start to put ourselves into action. Without that sense of empathy, without that sense of knowing that we are so helpless in the midst of our darkness, can we find a way to run to the cross? Can we bow our heads in prayer? If your loved one is here, please hold their hand tightly. Can we lift up to God that community of Annunciation Parish? Lift up to God those teachers and staff. Lift up to God those children in pain, afraid. Too much emotions to handle as a young one. Let's lift up to God those parents. All they want is their children to be protected. Lift up to God those parents that are preparing the funeral of their children. Lift up to God our very selves, asking for the gift of tears once again. As we are humbled by what has happened to us this week. And together, let's run to the cross. Knowing that love is awaiting us there. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?